You're listening to ESQ Resource Radio on the Bets on Media Network.
Well, good morning. This is Frank Loper, your host of the ESQ Resource Radio Show, and it's good to be me. I really appreciate you joining us. We're going to have a guest here shortly. Her name is Wendy Hernandez. She's a family law attorney, so she'll have some great insights in respect to those family law issues and how to handle things, and even in the midst of that, of just maybe some general rules of how you want to treat your former partner so it doesn't create any lingering problems for you. And you may remember that we had Wendy's brother on a couple weeks ago, Shannon Hernandez, who does the marketing for her, and he gave us a little bit of insight in respect to the Hernandez firm, as well as some of their marketing points. So we're looking forward to a great show, and we'll be ringing Shannon up here shortly, and hopefully we can go over that. But in the meantime, just to let you know that I work with Strafacci Law, and Strafacci Law is a debt workout attorney. So anybody that has any issues with insurmountable debt that's unsecured and would like a consultation on that, you can certainly give us a call at 602-889-7288. And we can do it over the phone or in person, depending on where you're at, because we're always looking to put you in front of the best option available for you in working that out. I can tell you a recent success story that we had where a 71-year-old retired woman came into our office, and she had co-signed a bunch of loans for her handyman to a tune of about $63,000. And he quit making the payments on it and left town, and she was on the hook for it. And she lives on a pension income, and we were able to get everything worked out for around $12,000 for her on that. So it was pretty good day for her to be able to make sure that was taken care of. As unfortunate as you tend to try to help people out, and they don't necessarily do the right thing for you. And that's what you got to be cautious of when you get involved in those situations. No good deed goes unpunished, seemingly. That you just got to be careful. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I always make that testament to my two sons, a 22-year-old and a 26-year-old. So just be cautious and take care of your stuff so you don't get caught up in some sort of scam, or you're putting yourself in a position where someone's going to take advantage of you. Just some common sense stuff. But Strafacci Law, we do that, and we just do the consultation to go over the options you have with your debt, whether it be bankruptcy, debt workout, even debt management if it fits in some cases and it may make sense. But keep in mind, Chapter 7 bankruptcy is your quickest, least expensive way to recovery. And that's really what you got to look at when you have debt that's overwhelming to you. And so we try to really help you get focused on that, try to help you get focused on how to build a budget. And we've talked about this on the show before, of just do something from a budgetary standpoint that helps you keep you on track so you can see where your money is going. And you may be able to make some adjustments in respect to those things to help yourself and plan your financial goals, because everything starts with a plan, then you can move forward towards it. That all being said, just want to, again, prep the audience for the fact that we're going to have a family law attorney. So if you have any questions, and certainly you'll be able to contact Wendy's office at 602-230-2333. And she can provide you some help and guidance in respect to those things. You're going to dial her up. So we're probably going to talk to Elaine first, and then she'll connect us up with Wendy.
Welcome to the Hernandez Family Law Firm. This is Elaine. How may I help you?
Elaine, good morning. This is Frank Lopo. And,
good morning.
I just want to let you know you're on the air.
But, all right. If you want to hold on 1 second, I'm going to put Miss Wendy on the air with you.
Excellent.
Okay, hold on, please.
Thanks, Elaine. Just make sure that disclaimer gets out there.
Right. So then let me jump off here, put you on hold real quick.
Or you say that one thing that you didn't want to say.
We'll just edit that out later on.
Yeah. It's always one of those things that once it's out there, it's like, oh man, did I really say that? Yeah. So I imagine a lot of those pro athletes would like some of that
Yeah, especially lately, right?
Twitter feedback.
Hi, this is Wendy.
Good morning, Wendy. This is Frank Lopo. And also with me is Adam Bird, who is the program director as well as the owner of Vets on Media. So welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Good to
we've
talk to both of you.
right, and we've had the pleasure to have your brother on before, and he sort of gave the audience, sort of an overview of your firm. So if you could, just before we get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about your firm and yourself.
Sure. I have been practicing law in Phoenix since 1996. I started out as a prosecutor with the Maricopa Attorney's Office. I was there for 3 years. And because of the government pay and my student loan debt, I needed to go somewhere else. And I had this sense that I could do better practicing law on my own and hanging out a shingle. And I don't know where I got that impression at such a young age, but I took a chance and I did it.
Right.
And luckily I was right. So at that point, I started doing criminal defense work because that's what I knew was the criminal system.
Right.
And primarily, I practiced for the first years in private practice doing criminal defense. But naturally, my caseload and my practice evolved into family law because a lot of my criminal clients and their families needed help. So eventually, it has evolved into a practice where 90% of it is devoted to family law. And I do still a small percentage of criminal cases, the cases which are interesting to me or that are kind of come along with some of the family law cases, unfortunately.
Right.
We also do wills and trusts, and those are a perfect complement to the family law practice because a lot of times when people are getting divorced or updating their custody agreements, there needs to be changes made to their estate planning documents. So we handle all aspects of family law, all the way from the prenup to the end, which would be the wills and trusts, but everything in between, like divorce, child custody, child support, spousal maintenance, adoption, termination of parental rights. We do all of that.
Excellent. Well, and that's, as what I've learned in this, that it's, one thing generally leads to another, and it's good that you make that distinction or that crossover with the wills and trusts as part of your practice, because several years ago when I really started dealing with a lot more attorneys, I always thought that bankruptcy attorneys, family law attorneys would have these horrific stories.
Yeah.
But the wills and trust attorneys, it is not comparable to how people treat each other under those circumstances. It's completely fascinates me that in that time in life that just some of the stuff that goes on in respect to those things. But let's get a little bit into, Wendy, in the sense of how did you get into first being an attorney? What brought you into that?
Well, I guess some people would call it a calling.
Right.
And I decided that I wanted to be an attorney when I was 12 years old, and I don't really know where that came from.
Really?
Honestly. Yeah, I just, felt like that's what I wanted to do. At that time, LA law was really popular on TV.
Okay.
I liked LA law. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but LA law is a lot more glamorous than I feel like it is in real life.
Right.
I love it, but it's not all the, whirlwind romantic affairs and all of that. And I am married.
Sure. Well, was it were you the kid that always challenged and argued the point and took a stand and just got a feel for that?
No, I'm not actually. I'm not a very argumentative person by nature. I mean,
Right.
by nature, I really want people to just get along.
Right.
That's kind of the strange thing because I chose an area of work, where it's all about conflict.
Sure.
And so I think, that just maybe is a lesson, or, something that I need to work on in my life as a whole, to be more balanced, dealing with the families and conflicts. And there are a lot of peaceful divorces, thank God. But, it really does, it has caused me to stretch my potential as a person, and learn some new skills and stand up to people, when I really would just rather say, okay, you can have what you want. Let's move along.
Right.
So I was not the kid who argued with everything. I was raised by traditional Hispanic parents, and the way I was raised was that whatever they said was law.
Right.
And you did not argue, or you got spanked back in the day.
Right.
So that was my upbringing. So as a result, I am a rule follower. I don't, I'm not one who naturally pushes the envelope, but I think that what attracted me to the law was just this idea of people achieving fairness. That's the kind of person I am. I'm a peacemaker, and I want fairness. So that's the part of the law that I love, and I really love helping people try to work the differences out in a way that is best for the family, as opposed to stirring up a hornet's nest and causing more drama and problems, and causing everybody to spend more money, and creating tension and stress. I think that people can work it out, but they have to be willing to do that.
Well, and I think it sounds like, from your demeanor and how you approach those things, you make it easier for people to understand and appreciate that, because I would think in the family law arena, that really has to be a great attribute to have in respect to deciding, do you want vengeance, or you just want fairness and be able to live your life type of thing. And there probably has to be a distinction pretty much up front in respect to those things, because, and a lot of people going through that process in their life never wanted to be in that position, but now that they are, the tendency is that somebody needs to pay. And,
right.
And you waste a lot of energy in that discussion with.
You do. I mean, and sometimes it does require people just, because we all want to be right.
Right.
Everybody wants to be right, but in family law, being right in a lot of cases means going the distance, having a protracted case, going to trial, spending lots of money, and just wanting to be right for the sake of being right, in my opinion, isn't worth it.
Right.
People have to ask themselves, do I want to be right, or do I want to get on with my life? And sometimes it's hard to give up, because you want to be right. You want the judge to say you're right.
Right.
And you want to be rewarded. It also requires kind of swallowing some pride, and that's hard.
It is.
For most people.
And then at the end of the day, it all gets back to just, in a lot of cases, just the simplest piece of it, of somebody just saying, I'm sorry, that,
Yeah.
and that's what always fascinates me at the end of the day, when you're talking to people in conflict. If the other person would have just said, hey, I'm sorry, I did you wrong, let's move on, it could have moved on. But like you said, pride and ego get in the way of that in most cases, and nobody wants to be the bad person in the situation that created the problem. So I imagine you do a lot of that, counts, trying to get everybody calm down and on the same page.
That is, that's definitely part of the process. And, a lot of the things in family law, at least in Arizona, are pretty straightforward. When we're talking about money and numbers and what was accumulated during the marriage, the court's going to do what's fair.
Right.
In most cases, that means equally dividing debt, equally dividing assets. But, because people get so emotional about this stuff, and I understand that, it's hard for them to accept at times that that's the way it's going to be, especially in cases where one spouse has maybe, worked the entire marriage at a company like, I'll say, Intel, for example,
Right.
and they have a great retirement. The other spouse stayed home or didn't work that much or worked part-time. And sometimes it's difficult for the spouse who worked every day and put in overtime and did whatever they had to do. It's hard for them to see that they have to share, a few $100,000 in retirement with the other spouse. But I mean, that's the law.
Right.
And you have to get past that emotion.
Well, and I've often heard the term Arizona as a no-fault state when it comes
Mhm.
to divorce. Is that true, and what does that mean in respect to things?
So, no fault means that the court is not going to look at the reason behind the divorce. If there was infidelity, the court doesn't care. If there was domestic violence, the court will care if there were children involved. If there are not children involved, generally speaking, the court doesn't care about the domestic violence. And I would say the exception to that is if somebody was held financially hostage, one person controlled the purse strings and there was domestic violence involved, the court might consider that. But generally speaking, to get a divorce in Arizona, all you have to say is that this marriage is irretrievably broken. There's no prospect of reconciliation, and the court will give you a divorce. The court doesn't need to know the reasons why you want the divorce. So that's what no fault means.
Okay.
Fault does come into play in some cases where there's been a spouse who has wasted community resources. Like say there's a spouse who has a gambling addiction or a drug problem, and they have spent lots of community funds on either of those things. Then the court's going to look at that. And if the court finds that there has been waste, then the court could ask or order the person who wasted the money to reimburse the community appropriately. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how many states are of the no fault? Is that commonplace or?
Oh, I think, I think that every state is now a no fault state.
Okay.
Right? And I think most recently, I believe, and I don't know for sure, but I believe that New York was the last one to become no fault, and that was fairly recently, within the last couple of years.
Yeah, because I know in talking to some of our other attorneys in our groups, that becomes one of the sticking points is, my spouse was having an affair, so they need to pay, and the attorney has to continually remind them, doesn't matter. That's not part of the equation.
Right.
Wendy, I have a question, and
Sure.
it may sound ignorant, but just out of curiosity, by the states going to a no fault state, does that expedite the process faster? I mean, was that the thought behind it? Is that why they went to a no fault state?
I can't really speak to that. I don't know why, what the reason for the movement towards no fault has been, and maybe in part it is that, in the past, judges and society has had this view that, women should be taken care of by the men. And, as we get more progressive as a society and women are, they're having their careers and their jobs and stuff, there's less of an idea that women should be taken care of by men. So that's less relevant. But I honestly, I don't know the reason behind going towards no fault. Whether it extends the divorce process or not, I don't know. It depends on the case, the jurisdiction, the judge, the parties, and the attorneys, and how much conflict there is involved. Because sometimes even with cases where there should not be issues or questions because it's a simple math problem, people create conflict, and they can find ways to cause problems. And if that happens, and the more arguing there is, the longer the case will take. That's the bottom line.
Well, and I think taking that out of the equation, one makes it less salacious is the word, that if you have to go through all that drama of the affair and who did what and why type stuff, I'm assuming the courts, just were tired of having to manage some of that BS because, it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't do that to another person, but we do it, and life goes on. And now I think coming into today's day and age, now with the same-sex marriage, all those things come into play, and it's just going to be interesting as how that tends to play out in the future, because it becomes more commonplace, and some of these things are broken down and, as one person stays home, the other person is doing all the work. How does that
Right.
all work from that standpoint? So,
Yeah, it is really going to get more interesting, as the same-sex laws evolve in every state. And, if ever same-sex marriage ever becomes legal in Arizona, I would anticipate a huge increase in the number of divorces that start happening.
well,
And the issues are going to be really different issues. I mean, we're already having different issues when it comes to same-sex relationships, and because of that being intertwined with the reproductive technology,
right.
that's
Right.
possible.
Yeah, because families just like have to be unwound and things like that. And it just becomes, pretty amazing through that process. Well, we've got about 2 minutes before our break. So, Wendy, why don't you
Okay.
give out your contact information? So
Sure.
that way, anybody out there that would like to contact you, they can get a hold of you. Just go ahead.
Okay. So, you can call the office anytime at 602-230-2333. It's 602-230-2333. We also have a really extensive website with lots of helpful legal resources, and the website address is hernandezfirm.com. So it's HERNANDEZ firm, FARM, all one word, .com.
Excellent. And they can get a lot of great information as you come back from the break. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about, I know you and your brother are in a bit of a venture and trying to help attorneys market themselves and things like that. So we can spend some time talking about that. How's that sound?
Sure. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Excellent. We'll take a break here and we'll be back in about 2 minutes
Okay.
and we'll continue on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. If you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey, everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. A listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free, and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face to face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to ESQ Resource Radio on the Vets on Media Network.
Well, we're back, and we have our guest with us, Wendy Hernandez. And Wendy, is it the Hernandez law firm or just the Hernandez firm?
It's Hernandez Family Law.
Well, it was total swing and a miss on that.
That's okay.
For Hernandez Family Law. Excellent. Well, we appreciate you being here. When we had your brother on, and he made a lot of reference to yours and his venture in helping attorneys market themselves and establish, a better presence either through social media or just marketing. So why don't you just give us some insight into how that's going and a little more about what that's about?
Yep. So basically what that venture is called is cloud busting for lawyers. Since you deal with so many lawyers, you probably have them talk about making it rain or being rainmakers.
Right.
So cloud busting is just another way of saying rainmaker. And, Shannon and I started working together about 1.5 years ago on my own rainmaking activities in my own firm. And prior to then, really, my idea, I had been lucky because I'd been able to bring in business without doing a lot of active work in marketing. Really, all I did was have a website up.
Right.
And I realized that that's not marketing. That's just one aspect of your marketing plan. So Shannon, who's been in radio and promotions for 14 years, started supporting me and helping me get more resources up on the website, getting more active in social media, getting out into the community and speaking and making connections. And, I saw the amount of business that was coming into the office really increase when I started actively working on the marketing. So, I feel like, there's one company in the United States that helps with a lot of attorney marketing, and that's the company I was working with before Shannon got involved. And really all they were doing was hosting a website, and I was paying them a lot of money every month. And they were writing some blogs, but they were not blogs that anybody was interested in reading, especially not even me.
Right.
That was bad because they were on my website.
Right.
So, I felt like there was a real need, and there's a lack of attorneys out there, especially family law attorneys in this area, who are talking to their audience and talking to their clients and addressing the pains that the clients are feeling. And so that's what I started doing in the marketing, was speaking to the clients in my blogs. And I also have a podcast, which comes out once a week. It's called the Family Law Insider Podcast, writing ebooks, doing free video coaching. And so primarily what we're doing with Cloud Busting for Lawyers is teaching attorneys how to do the things that I have been doing over the last 1.5 years.
Right.
And, I don't know what law schools are teaching these days. If law school is anything like it was when I went, there was nothing about business administration. There was nothing about marketing. But for the attorney who is going to go out on their own or be involved in a small firm, this is stuff that you need to do. I mean, it's easy to open a business. It's easy to buy a computer and rent an office. That's great. But if you don't have any clients, then it's not going to work.
No question. And you're very correct with, the formula before was go to law school, go work for a big firm, or go work in a prosecutor's office, and then over time start your own business.
Yep.
And then you're finding, these companies out there that, just like you said, that are more than happy to take your money and try to point you in a direction. But the whole piece of that is you're missing your voice. Right. In like you said, in the blog and things like that, that's what people want. That's what they connect to, is when they hear you speaking about, your experience as far as, here's a client situation, And that speaks to them directly, because in a lot of cases, that's me. I'm going through that exact thing. And they really appreciate working with somebody that can at least address that for them and give them some insight to it, and be confident in the ability, because it's never, anytime you have to deal with an attorney, it's in most cases not the happy occasion.
Right.
It's always through distress, and you don't want to be there in the first place. So if you can connect with somebody that at least, based on what you've seen on their website or heard from another person, they will at least have some empathy for your situation and try to help you through it.
That's right. And, from, the attorney marketing standpoint, I've seen it's a lot of work to write blogs every week and do these podcasts. The things that I love doing. And they've kind of renewed my passion for law, but also, like you said, I've reclaimed my voice. I used to love to write when I was a kid, and now I've found a way to meld that with the law. But the real value I see is when a client walks through the door and they are like quoting something they heard from the podcast,
Right.
or read on the blog, and I know that I created that, and that they're on board. They're already invested because they feel like they know me, and they feel like I've already helped them, even though I've never met them.
Right.
But sometimes, when people walk through the door, you're already 5 steps ahead of the game, because they feel like they know you. They've seen you on the computer. They've read what you have to write. They know what your values are based on what you're putting into the world. And I think that is great for attracting the clients that you want to work with.
Well, and the one key point that you brought out there, and that's my continual effort in doing the radio show and then hosting our networking groups, is it is work. At the end of the day, it does take effort to make it what you want and to make it pay off, and it has to be consistent. You can't blog once a quarter and think, well, I'm getting out there. It's that continual relevant information that people want to hear about or starving for. It's accessible to them in today's world. That and then when you can tie a video to it, people can see who you are. Again, it makes a big difference in how, when they walk in your office, they're receiving you. And
Absolutely.
We get that a lot because 100% of our business is through referrals, and I'll get attorneys that will call my office and say, Frank, I've got Mr. and Mrs. Smith in my office. They need your help. When can you see them?
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, when that person gets to my office in that appointment, as I go through and say, let me tell you what we do and how we do it, it's Strafacci Law. There's been plenty of times where they said, stop. We don't need to know how you do what you do. We just know that in this instance, Greg Pulo said, you're the guy, fix our problem.
Right.
And what I've had to learn how to do is shut up. And that's difficult. Because I want to tell them all about it. And they're just like, you don't understand. You're the guy. You can fix our problem.
Yeah.
Let's move forward. Fine.
It's so when you get to that point. And, the thing is that you bring up that I think is really important that I haven't talked a lot about is that, the aspect of relationship building in marketing. And, a lot of people think marketing is being salesy and pushy. And, and I think that as a lawyer, I'm a salesman. Some people, may not agree with me, but I think we're all salespeople in whatever it is that we do. Just because you're a salesperson doesn't mean that you have to be salesy. But, a lot of this referral marketing is about building relationships with people, where they like you and they come to trust you, and then you have that same feeling about them, and that, you can refer somebody to them and say, hey, I know Joe. I know he will take care of you, not just because he's competent, but because I know him, and if I send somebody to him, he's going to do that. And then in return, Joe will do the same for me when somebody needs my help. And that's been really powerful for me over the last year and a half, seeing how these relationships are blossoming, and I'm getting these referrals from the people that I've come to know and like and trust.
Well, and no question. And it's just taking the time to engage and not have an expectation. And the easiest way to get that started is by referring people to the other person first, and not necessarily, as I tell people, it's not about keeping score. It'll all work out for you.
Correct.
And it doesn't have to become you give me a referral, I give you a referral. It may be you give me the connection I need somewhere else that is that much more helpful for the client I have currently. And too many times that's what I would get. And that's what we started our networking groups about was, gosh, Frank, I refer a bunch of business to Adam and he never sends me anything back. And I would hear that time and time again. And then finally it dawned on me to ask the question of what's a bunch of business. And then they would say, well, and I'd say, no, I don't. I mean, I just want to be clear about that, because my suspicion was that you were upset over something very minimal. And when they finally looked at it and said, well, I've only referred them 2 people. I said, okay. So, and that's important, but it's not a bunch. It's 2 people. And how do you know Adam hasn't referred you business back? Because a lot of times when a client meets with us, even, they're very cautious and they're not necessarily, willing. It's fascinating as they sit in an attorney's office and in front of an attorney, and you say, tell me everything about the situation. They still defensively hold back and till they get to know you. And then once they feel comfortable and they're willing to say, oh yeah, here's something I left out when we first met. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. That was important. But that's human nature. And that's the part of, again, that you don't get that in law school. You get that through life experience and through people, that can help you with that. And then the other point you make about, being a salesperson, because, as you hear people say, God, I hate sales, and you're selling every day. I mean, you sell yourself when the alarm clock goes off to get out of bed. You have to convince yourself to get up and go after it versus just laying there and left to our own devices. We'd be cavemen and wouldn't dress and hang out all day. So those are great points. And I think when you bring your voice to it and then when you put it out there, like you said, then people they can see for themselves and get some insight to it. And, I've checked out your website and there's a lot of content out there. You answer a lot of questions that I'm sure people have that are, they may not think, that's what's fascinating. Everybody tends to think that I'm the only one going through this. Nobody understands what I'm going through.
Right.
And I get that, because that's the way you want to feel, that it's personal to you, and you need an outlet, and you need somebody that can give you some guidance and experience. And, that's one of the things that we continually remind our audience about. Seek counsel, whether you take action or not is not always the necessary thing, but at least engage in a professional that can give you some clear direction and advice. That's not, my brother-in-law told me that I should do this.
Exactly. Just that helps, even, if funds are limited, just to scrape enough together to have a consultation for an hour. So you're right.
Right. And then you can assess it and decide, okay, I can move forward, or, all right. And, because so many people, as you talked about when we first started, about the thought of being right versus wrong. And I learned that over years of working with attorneys, that it's not about right and wrong. It's about the law. And here's what the law says in this instance.
Yep.
And your neighbor's still a jerk, but he didn't break the law.
Exactly.
That's not going to change. The law doesn't regulate, people being a jerk or not. And but people spend a lot of money trying to prove a point, and if you have it, great. But most people don't have that extra money to burn in respect to those things. And I think most attorneys talk people out of wasting money and saying, I get it, you're upset, but you're just going to spend a lot of money not to get the answer you want. So don't do it. Well, great. Well, we're coming up on another break. That was a fast 20 minutes or so. So Wendy, why don't you give out your contact information, and we've got one more segment,
Sure.
about 10 more minutes, and we'll get you off to your day after that. So
Okay, Frank. So people can reach us by calling the office at 602-230-2333, 602-230-2333. And our website address is hernandezfirm.com. You spell Hernandez, HERNANDEZ, firm, FIRM.com.
excellent. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey, everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker, 1-9. How about that bandit? You got some ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. If you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Do you need an extra push to start your day? Well, then tune in to Addie's Radio. Addie's Radio is a show that explores tough questions in an open and fun forum. The program also engages hard-hitting issues concerning veterans' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This show airs every Tuesday from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vets On Media Network. Addie's Radio is hosted by Jesse James, a combat veteran of Afghanistan, so he knows the problems that veterans face every day. Jesse provides you guidance each and every week to be a better you. So tune into yourself each week by tuning into Addie's Radio. Go to vetsonmedia.com for show details.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to ESQ Resource Radio on the Vets On Media Network.
Welcome back to the ESQ Resource Radio Show. I'm your host, Frank Lopo, and our guest today is Wendy Hernandez with the Hernandez Family Law Firm here in Arizona. And Wendy, as we were talking, from the marketing standpoint of things, tell us some of the, the success that you've had in respect to, one, how you market your business, and two, what really, if you can be distinct about what really led to that. Was it the internet presence, the blogging, or different things like that have really opened your eyes to here's what's driving it at this point in time?
I can't say that it's any one thing,
Okay.
Frank, that's led to success. And I will tell you, we have a great team here in the office, and that's part of where it starts. You start with a great team, and then giving the clients top-notch service. And so we have a great team, and we give top-notch service. And so we get good reviews, and that definitely helps, online, Google, Abo, wherever, Yelp. I can tell you that having, basically an encyclopedia online by way of our website has helped immensely. You know, I've seen a difference in the quality of clients that are coming through the door. And what I'm saying is that I'm getting clients that are have values that are in line with my values.
Right.
And I think that's really important for anybody who's hiring an attorney. Whatever your values are, your attorney should share those values, because, you know, if you have different mindsets or values, or if somebody wants a bulldog attorney or just somebody who's mean for the sake of it, you know, then I would not be that person. And that comes through on the website. So because of all of the content we put on the website, I'm attracting people who are really people like me, I think, you know, and that makes for a great working relationship with the clients. What I see, you know, like I'll give you an example. In September, the month of September alone, we probably had, you know, and we track all of this stuff so we know what our conversion rate is. You know, we probably had 16 potential clients who consulted with me, and of those, we retained, or 13 people retained us. And I think it is a lot of it has to do with the trust that was built beforehand, before the client ever set foot in the door, because of what we're putting out into the world by way of the website.
Right.
So, I mean, that's, you know, those are direct results. Obviously, you know, there's certain times of the year when calls are quiet, you know, and business is slower. You know, September was a good month in terms of new people calling the office. But, you know, all of those people had checked out the website. You know, the thing is about websites and all the stuff that you have on it, that if nobody ever sees it or knows that it exists, then it doesn't help you.
Right.
And, you know, that, I mean, that's a whole nother show. You probably, you know, I'm sure you realize that, and Google search and SEO and all of that. But part of getting the website out so that people can see it, so people can know who Hernandez Family Law is promoting yourself and promoting the blog and promoting the website. And promotion does come in the form of social media, Twitter, and being active on Facebook and Google, and, you know, having these podcasts out and getting out to meetings and meeting new people. So, you know, I think that the promotion of the firm and the website is what has driven more people to the website.
Well,
yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, and you're exactly right, because, you know, that is a whole nother show as far as that SEO. And, you know, that's one of the questions that, you know, somebody will tell me that, gosh, you know, I'm paying somebody X amount of dollars to give me the first page on Google. And my question to them of late has been, what is that doing for you? I mean, right. I get it. It sounds great, but are your clients, is that where your clients are finding you, is on the first page of Google? Or are they finding you through a referral partner, and then they're just checking your website, you know, as a credibility issue? And then once they get there, now they're getting introduced to who you are. I mean, right. Just getting to be on the first page of Google, I don't know that that's in a lot of cases for attorneys, unless of course you're a mill factory for divorce or bankruptcy, then it is very important to be the first page of Google in that respect. Right. But you're going after a specific client that is price driven and not a relationship situation, because that's the true art of selling. It's everybody can find your service at a better value or a cheaper price, but for sure. But the key is, why are they willing to spend more money with you? Because of the quality of person you are. And just like you said, that they align with you from a standpoint of, okay, she gets it, you know, and there are people out there that want that bulldog, and they want somebody to go punish somebody, and that's not who you're looking for. And I'm sure in those cases where, if you're dealing with an opposing counsel that is that person, you can certainly step into that and not let your client get taken advantage of. That's why they hired you.
Of course. From
that standpoint. But that's, like you said, that's taking you out of who you are, but not really, because who you are is a person who's there to advocate for your client and protect them. And
exactly. You know, and there's a time and place for everything. And I think that, you know, starting off the case as being a jerk just because your client's angry because the husband cheated on
right.
her. You know, and that's not the way to handle things. But just to be mean to punish, or get revenge. I mean,
Sure.
I don't do that. And when I have gotten into cases where that's what my client wanted me to do, just to be mean, neither of us have been happy. But, if people start filing motions or you end up in an evidentiary hearing and you have to get aggressive, I can do that and I will protect my client. But, it's not my nature just to be mean because my client is pissed.
Right. Right. And I think you filter that out in getting some exposure to them or them getting some exposure to you in
Yep.
your presence there and hearing from you. And like I said, in checking out your website, you do provide a lot of information, a lot of insights, and you really do. If you've viewed any of the videos and then you come into your office, I'm sure that sense of, I've already met you, I already know you,
Right.
makes it a lot more comfortable in having a conversation and moving forward with things. So that's excellent to hear that, from a tracking standpoint, and that becomes another, point of reference with attorneys. It is tracking that information of saying, how many people are you meeting with, and, how many are you converting into clients, and the ones that you aren't doesn't mean, you need to fix anything.
Right.
It's just being aware of those numbers so you can have that conversation, and that's good information to share and good for other people to hear, from wanting to do business with you as far as being a referral partner and, putting people in front of you that you can help. I'd certainly get that. It makes a lot of sense.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Excellent.
Glad.
And you spoke about your team. How many associates do you have working in your firm?
Well, so at present, Frank, I don't have any associates, and I'm on the hunt for one. So actually, this might be the perfect place to put the word out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the hunt for one. I did have 2 associates up until the beginning of September, and one got the entrepreneurial bug and decided to open her own practice, and she had been with me for 4 years.
Wow.
So, I can't fault her for that. I did the same thing.
Sure.
So she left, and my other associate actually, has an aspiring career as a stand-up comedian, and he wanted to pursue that. So things kind of happened in September, and I'm really taking my time and finding somebody. I don't want to feel rushed. I'm by no means desperate. My team is really awesome, and a great paralegal with 28 years of experience. I mean, she could be a lawyer practically with as much as she knows. She worked for one attorney who's highly respected for 26 years until he retired.
Wow.
But I want a person who is passionate about family law, and I want somebody who is almost as passionate about marketing and getting out there and writing blogs and making themselves known and making us known. And so, I'm hoping that with what schools are teaching these days, they're stressing the importance of the marketing to the young new attorneys. But I'm looking for somebody who's interested in both, not just in being a lawyer, but in being out there in the world and creating business.
Excellent. Well, in the area of family law or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like somebody who's interested in doing family law.
Okay.
Is also open to, sometimes criminal law cases come up. Somebody hits somebody and they get charged with an assault
Sure.
or violates an order of protection. So, I like to be a full service to my client as much as possible. And if somebody has a criminal case, we want to be able to step in. I want an attorney who's willing to do that and is not afraid of walking into a criminal courtroom.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I will certainly put the word out through my networks of that you're looking for that person. And I did get the opportunity to meet your comedian attorney. It's pretty funny. I mean, I just thought that was the ideal attorney persona to be a comedian, and think, dude, that's got to be great. You're a funny guy. Let's see how well you're doing that. But
he is really funny and obviously not shy about talking in front of people. So.
No. And I think, that's a good thing. And that's the other part. I was talking to Adam at one of our breaks, and I've got a gentleman that's going to be a guest here coming up. His name is Chris Smith. And he talks about, from a marketing aspect, telling your story, because that's, the one thing to get, and that's more and more as, you know, you're out there marketing and your story, you know, his philosophy is your success is in your roots, because that is so relevant to connecting with people and knowing that that does matter, that those experiences that you have in the past become very relevant to how you're helping people today.
For sure.
And the other great thing about it is when you present it and tell the testimonial from the client's perspective, that's where the potential client can identify them in that situation.
Yes.
And he's got a formula of how to do that. And it starts out very basically like telling the story of once upon a time, and you think, God, that's so goofy. But when you lay it out in your story of saying once upon a time, it all fits. And then you talk about a struggle, and then you talk about, luckily I overcame the struggle, and now here's where we're at today. And it becomes a happily ever after of here's how we've solved the problem. And that stuff is, in today's world, is so relevant for everybody to just make sure that as they're marketing and talking about their business, because you have that tendency that, and I know I do it, is to talk about yourself and identify yourself with your job. You know, when somebody says, who is Wendy Hernandez? And the temptation is to talk about everything you do.
Right.
But when you start talking about who you are, that's what they wanted to hear. But it's safe for us to talk about what we do, because it's what I do.
That's right. That's right. And it's just, you know, I think it helps if people, you know, see you as a human, and that they can relate to you on a certain level. And for me, you know, our practice is really holistic. We try to address the whole person. It's not just about filing motions and showing up in court. I mean, people need more. You know, some people don't want more, and they may not admit that they need more. You know, but a lot of my blogs are really personal. Once a week, I put one out, you know, as part of my weekly newsletter, and it, you know, I try to make it inspirational, because people are going through this stuff. They need help. And as a human, I go through stuff too. I don't bring it to work. My clients, you know, they don't hear about it in the midst of my handling their case. But I go through my stuff too, my daily challenges or challenges with my own relationship, and I'm working through them. And I share that with people because I want them to see who I am and that they're not alone.
Well, and that is so interesting as you say that, because that's, you know, as I tell people, one of my biggest struggles in life is getting my ego out of the way and asking other people to help me.
Yes.
And I think that's what most people, you know, want to be that strong. I've got it under control. I'll take care of it. Doesn't bother me. But if you just ask others to help you, and it doesn't mean they do anything for you other than listen and maybe point you in the right direction. It's like, you know, it's like my wife says that, you know, I'm stuck in a room and go through the wall, and when she'll say, why don't you try the door? It's right there.
Right. Exactly. If you have fresh perspective, will help sometimes.
Right. But
you know, the answer it just really may be an easy answer, but you're so hung up, or you're so in a cloud that you can't see it.
right. And you can't get out of your own way. And the tendency then is to make it worse, because what happens is nothing is you know, I certainly have the thought process that a lot of times if you don't mess with it, it'll fix itself. And in some of those cases, fixing itself is, you know, started out as just a little leak, and now it's a dam burst, and you're, holy crap, how did this happen?
Exactly.
So,
yep, that's right. And I think if people address stuff as it's happening, then it really, you know, it gets the problem out of the way, and it opens them up to, you know, something amazing.
Right. Well, Wendy, we're about to close the show, so why don't you go ahead and give out your contact information one more time. And I will tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time to be a guest on the show, and everything you had to say was spot on. And hopefully the audience, anybody out there, that if you have any questions, you're in a situation where you may need Wendy's help, reach out to them. They certainly will want to help you out in any way they can.
We also posted their website, Wendy's website, up on both social media sites for us as well.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Great. Thank you so much. So, yes, you can reach me at 602-230-2333, 602-230-2333, and the website is at hernandezfirm.com, HERNANDEZ firm, FIRM.com. Our weekly podcast is released every Tuesday. It's available on iTunes and Stitcher Radio as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much again, Wendy, for being a guest. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks to both of you, and you have a great day.
We certainly will. Bye.